I used to get those answers you talk about, right?
Right.
And then it make it sound so easy, like the door
Right.
is open. Just you trust me, it's open. It's not open. The
Yeah.
joint is closed. You got to kick that. You got to kick that joint down. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everybody's trying to not get eaten. So
Right.
we don't have time, to coax you and baby you and get you there, right?
Mhm.
We out here trying to not get eaten ourselves.
Harold Jackson III, welcome to the Black Script Conversations. How are you doing today?
I'm good, brother. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, thank you for joining, man. I appreciate your time. There's a question that I ask every guest at the beginning of each interview. It's a simple question, but sometimes it can be difficult to answer. And that question is, who is Harold Jackson III?
Yeah, it's a simple question, but I think it is hard to answer. A lot of things, man. I'm a filmmaker, father, husband, film lover. I think ultimately, when it's all said and done, I'm a bit of a introverted communicator, right? So I feel I'm very comfortable communicating with people through this particular art form.
Uh-huh.
Not so much, until I'm comfortable with you, I can seem a little. I don't know if standoffish is the word, but it takes me a while to get comfortable with people, and once I am, then you see the true side of me, I think.
I feel like that characteristic is oftentimes a lot of us creatives are the same way, because
Right.
everything that you described sounds like me in a nutshell. Even though I may come across as outgoing, but trust me, once this camera turns off, I go right
Yeah.
back to quiet mode. You know what I'm saying? So
I do this stuff, man. I love it. Thank you again for having me.
yeah.
I love to sort of spread the word on what I'm doing. But I'll be exhausted when this is over. Just you know what I mean. And
Yeah,
then
no,
I'll
it's
recharge after.
draining. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel you, man. I understand. But you said you're a filmmaker, but you're also a writer and director, and
Uh-huh.
producer. Um,
Yeah.
can we talk a little bit about your writing first? How did you get into writing?
Well, I started out as an editor, and then I was editing other people's stuff, and then I wanted to do my own stuff,
Mhm.
and then I kind of, well, then you have to write something, so I taught myself how to write, um, and then it was like, well, it's written, but you got to shoot it, and then you shoot it, you got to produce it. So I sort of backdoored my way into all the elements of the art form. So
Oh,
when I say I'm a filmmaker, I pretty much touch have touched and during the span of my career, I've touched every single side of this art form. So
mhm.
uh, uh, you gotta love it. It can be hard or it can be really fun. Just depends on how you feel about the work and how prepared you are for the work.
Right, right. You roughly have about 10 to 11 films or projects under your
Yeah.
belt. You probably have more than that. But that's
No
what
doubt.
I was able to find. And your most recent one is A Million to One, correct?
Yeah, million to one. Yeah.
Uh,
That's a yeah, go see it. Go see it. Go see it. Million to one on Amazon Prime right now. Million to one, million to one, million to one.
yes.
We keep saying it. So go see it. It's a real fun, sort of family rom-com. It's just an enjoyable movie, man. It's one of those movies that make you feel good when it's all over. Like you just feel better. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? You just feel better for watching it. So I'm really proud of it. It's funny. It's heartwarming. It's just I'm really proud of how it turned out, man. It's just a good movie.
Are you able to talk a little bit about what the storyline is about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's out now. So go to Amazon Prime again, million to one.
Mhm.
Um, it's about a social media influencer who's he's kind of fast and loose, and he's that guy, right? He's that guy, isn't it? And he's played by a really talented stand-up comedian named Rob Gordon.
Uh-huh.
And he has to go home for his brother's sort of weekend wedding.
Mhm.
Um, and then it turns out a girl that he met before that he was interested in is also the private chef for the wedding, right? So, and then, obviously it's shenanigans ensue. There's ex-boyfriends, there's cold feet, there's, just beautiful people, just wonderful performances, man. So again, man, in a lot of ways, it feels, I tell people it feels kind of like Sunday dinner, you know what I mean? When all your family is there and
Yeah.
it just warms you after you're done watching it, man. So I'm really proud of it. And go see it, go see it, go see it. Million to One on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I love the fact that you were plugging the movie, man. Yeah,
Hey man,
definitely
hey
go
man,
see
it's how we live. It's how we live out here, man. We gotta do what we gotta do. We
it.
gotta
Yeah,
do what we gotta do, man.
it's all good. It's all good. How long did it take for you to film this particular project?
Million to One, I think, was about 11 days or so, something like that. It was about 11 days. And we shot in Prince George's County,
Mhm.
Maryland, and a little bit in DC. And it was just a fun, it was one of those sets that was just everybody was on the same page, your life was good. And it's no horror stories and nothing like that. It was just a good time.
Right. Tell me a little bit about how you went about the casting process.
Well, I'm probably not the best person to ask about this.
Okay.
Because the truth is the reason I say that is because I have a tendency to go back to people who are really good
Hmm.
and who are really good to work with and people that I believe in. So my casting process is not as open as probably a lot of other filmmakers' casting processes. Specifically in this particular movie, Million to One, Amazon Prime.
Right.
Right. In this particular movie, Million to One, the core cast was pre-casted because I thought I really believed in these actors and enjoyed their work. The only actor that was so the main core cast is Rob Gordon, Michael J. Patterson, Ashley Rios, Donnie Brown Jr.,
Hmm.
and the only person that sort of was casted in a traditional sense, had to audition and then do a callback, and then she sort of won out against about 3 or 4 other women. Was Brianna Cortesiano, who
Yes.
played Tatiana in the film, and she's a newcomer but
Hmm.
exceptionally talented, and she got a lot to offer, man. I think she's gonna go a long way.
Yes. She actually stars in a short film from another producer friend of mine, filmmaker of mine. His name is
Okay.
Eric Yang. She stars in a short film called Love in Brooklyn. It's on TheBlkScript.com if you ever get time to check it out.
I will.
But
I'll
yes,
check it out sometime.
I'm familiar with Brianna. I'm also familiar with Donnie too, because Donnie was in Forgetting Christmas.
Yeah. Donnie's in Forgetting
Hideo Cook's
Christmas.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Million to One. Yeah, he's a good dude, man. Talented brother. He's gonna be in my next film called The Novelist that I'm gearing up to shoot.
Okay.
So, man, yeah, good people.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about this new movie that you're getting ready to shoot, The Novelist.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the concept of the story?
Yeah, The Novelist is a sort of dark comedy thriller.
Okay.
It's about a woman who steals a manuscript from a dying author, and
Mm,
it's debatable whether or not she helped him die a little early,
right.
right?
Yeah.
She steals a manuscript from a dying author, and she's like, and she goes out into the world. She passes it off as hers, and she becomes very popular, and everybody's feeling her, and but it turns out that the author promised that novel to his illegitimate son that he had outside of his marriage, who's
Wow.
not a very nice guy. He's played by a really strong, talented actor here in the area. His name is Paul Cotman,
Okay.
and it's tense, it's funny, it's fast paced, it's exciting, it's a bunch of weird, crazy characters. So it's stepping outside the traditional box a little bit,
Mhm.
but I think it's doing it in a way that's always entertaining, never not entertaining.
I like that concept, man. And I love movies that have that that twist to it, to where it's a real life scenario, or a scenario that is
Yeah.
really believable, relatable, and you don't really see too much of it, but it happens a lot where people,
Yeah,
take other
people
people's stuff.
people steal people's stuff.
Right.
Sometimes they get away with it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Are you able to talk a little bit about how you go about distribution?
It's sort of a different model for every project.
Okay.
There's plenty of ways to do it. There's ways to attack distribution prior to shooting. You can pitch if you can get a network's attention or an executive's attention. You can pitch your project and hopefully they bite on it. Most of the time they don't. It's just so many, there's only so many projects they can say yes to.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a million people fighting for that spot. So you really, that can be competitive. So you can go that route. You can get some investors to get together and sort of make your own movie, and then you can film festival shop it. You can good old fashioned distributor model,
Mm-hmm.
or you can go into like an aggregator space, man. So it's a different strokes for different projects, I think. So there's no one like secret sauce that I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
I have some projects that are on networks, some projects that have to go through the traditional way to get things distributed, the traditional model of rolling out. Some
Mm-hmm.
projects are doing something a little different. I might film festival it a little bit, or I might do something else. It just, I know that doesn't help a lot of people because a lot of people want to hear, "Oh, do it this way and you win."
Right.
And I don't know if that's a fair thing for me to tell people, or a true thing to say. There's no one way to do it.
I was just curious to know if there was another process that maybe I'm unaware of, or the audience is unaware of, that they could be kind of made aware of. But I get where you're coming from, though.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's always some new kid figuring something out that I didn't know about, or some new way to do things that I learn about after it's played out. You know what I mean? Like, so you always got to kind of keep your ear to the ground and
Right.
know what's going on out there, and know what's going on in the industry before you even start. Know what type of movies are moving today before you start on a project. You know what I mean? You may be really into dramas, but dramas aren't moving right now. You need something a little more spicy for the audience. You know what I mean? So you gotta take that into account. The word on the street is that rom-coms are coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to take that into account. You know what I mean? You might want to get ahead of that curve. It's just if you're locked into something, you got to be able to stick and move out here, because it can get really, it can, if it takes you too long to make a movie, you've missed the window, right?
Really?
You know what I mean? Like if like Black horror movies are the hot thing, and you like, and then you take too long to make yours, now you're at the end of that window and it's not as sexy as it used to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you gotta be like a shark, man. You really gotta be out there trying to figure out what's coming down the pipe. And then also you got to realize that people want to hear from you, right? So they don't just want another movie. Anybody can make another movie. They kind of want to hear what you have to say. So you really gotta balance what's going on in the world with what am I doing with myself, and how do I want to communicate with people. So it's a constant dance, man. It's a constant dance trying to stay on top of things.
I like that you said that. So this is something that I was unaware of. So it's really a wave, where different genres of films, are what's popping at the moment, opposed to just films that you might necessarily like to make. You also have to know what is. You also have to keep a finger on the pulse of what's happening, and who's doing what. Okay.
And who's doing what, and who's paying for stuff. You know what I mean? At some point, I kind of subscribe to the one for you, one for me model. You know what I mean? So this it's a business You know what I mean? Like if this is popping right now, and this is me talking, this don't mean it's whoever's out there listening, this is how you do it. But this is me. If this is popping right now, maybe get a piece of it. Do it your way, to where you feel comfortable doing it. But why go against the current when there's so much, like there's so much money out there, right? Like why go against the current and to make your life harder than it has to be, right? Ultimately, I do have a certain type of movie that I like, and you know, at some point I get like moved to tell this particular story, even though it may not be the hot thing at the moment. If I feel strongly about it, I'll do it.
Right.
And I'll muscle it into the market and make it do what it can do. But I have to admit, I've done both. I've done very artsy, personal, what I want to do stuff, and then I've done stuff that's a little more commercial. And I'll be honest with you, man, the stuff that's a little more commercial moves a little quicker than the indie stuff. It's just the way the business is. So, you know, I don't complain about it. I don't fight it. I just understand where I fit in and try to get what I can where it's at.
Now you mentioned funding somewhere within there, and that was going to be one of my questions, is what are some ways that you can fund a project?
So my first, I don't know, 5, 6 movies were self-financed, right?
Okay.
I believe, you know, part of my early process, you know, I didn't really ask for money early on, and it wasn't something that I was doing. And because early on, I didn't know how to make money in movies. I just didn't. And I just didn't feel comfortable asking for money when I knew I didn't know how to make any money on the back end. You would just be giving me money early on, right? And if I fell ass backwards in the money, then it would have been good. But I didn't know where to find it early on. And to be honest with you, there wasn't a lot of places for independent filmmakers to find money with their film. You know, just being able to eat off your movies is only like, as an independent producer, is only like 5 years old, 3, 4, 5 years old. I'm gonna be real with you.
Wow.
Like before that, it was like you were hoping that you would figure it out, but more than likely that was money gone. And but I believed in myself enough to keep pushing through those down times. And you know, some might say it was smart, some might say it was not. That's just where I was, and that's just how I felt about myself. So I pushed through those hard times. And then when the sort of universe opened up, I was already in it. I was already down. I knew what was happening. I knew how to turn a movie around quick because I had done all that stuff before that. So you know, my first 5, 6, 7 films, I don't even remember, were self-financed by me. And then I got into an investor relationship for my last couple of films. And that, you know, that did what it did. And now I'm you know, I've evolved to the place where I know the process now.
Okay.
Business model is starting to work. So it's starting to feed itself. The economy that I've created is starting to feed itself. So I'm able to make, you know, if I stay lean and stay clean, I'm able to still stick and move. You know what I mean?
I like that, man. Lean and clean.
Yeah.
I see on your Instagram page, 8 Pictures House. Is that your production studio? Is that you?
Yeah, that's my production company, my production studio. We've got all the cameras, all the lights, all the spaces, and all the things you need to make a movie right now today. So yeah, 8 Picture House is my production company. If you go to 8picturehouse.com, you'll be able to see all my movies and all that stuff, and you'll be able to get to them real easily. So yeah.
No, that's dope. And it's basically its own streaming platform. You can watch all the movies.
You one click from watching all my movies, right? You see something, it looks interesting to you, you click it, and it'll drive you to the proper platform to get the best out of that viewing experience. You know what I mean? So you know, it's coming together for me. So I'm happy, you know, with where I am. I'm happy with where I'm going. I'm
Right.
content right now. Life is good, so I really can't complain. Oh, you know, I'm probably supposed to complain about how bad things are, but I really can't complain, man.
And do you do this? Is this your full-time gig? Are you able
Yeah. I'm a
for
full-time
yourself?
filmmaker now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a job in DC that paid really well, and I used that to finance the bulk of my first half of my film career.
Wow.
Um, and then in 2019, at the end of 2019, I let it go, and I walked away from the job and I said, listen, you're not getting any younger. Either this is going to be a hobby or you're going to get down. Like, what you
Right.
going to do,
Right.
So I stepped away from the comfort zone and I dived in 2019. And then the pandemic hit as soon as as soon as I got started, the pandemic hit. But here's the thing, this is what I'm saying, if you stay lean and clean, you can get a lot of things done.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because the pandemic hit, hotels were cheap, first class flights were cheap.
Mm-hmm.
In DC, if you ever been to DC, you can't park nowhere, man. But
Right.
everybody was in the house. You could park everywhere. There wasn't no parking authority or nothing. So like life was good, man. Life was good, as from the filmmakers, from a filmmaking standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So I took advantage of the situation that we were in. And I was able to get a really nice cast in a movie that I shot during the pandemic called The Forgettable Life of Liam White.
Mm-hmm.
That's online right now. The Forgettable Life of Liam White. You go to Roku, you can find it, or Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon, but if you want to just watch it, go to Roku. The Forgettable Life of Liam White. And I shot that during the pandemic. I was able to, be blessed with an amazing group of talented people. I got TC Carson on board. I
Mm-hmm.
got Jasmine Guy on board. I got a real young, strong actor out of Atlanta named Karan Joseph Riley on board. I got a local actor who's always fun to work with and so talented. Her name is Brave Williams. My
Mm-hmm.
guy Sean Woodland was in it. So like I turned what could have been a terrible situation into a blessing. But I mean, that's what you got to do in this business if you want to make it work.
Right. I feel like the pandemic was a blessing in disguise, even though it did hurt for a lot of people, but it
Yeah.
also provided a lot of new opportunity for a lot of people, and it also opened their eyes to see that there are a lot of things that can be done
Mhm.
outside of the norm. And yeah, you were able to work with people that you probably otherwise wouldn't have been able to work with
Right.
because you would have
Right.
been busy.
It could, again, I don't want to be disrespectful because I know a lot of people were hurt in a lot of really serious ways. So when
Right.
I'm talking about this in this sort of silver lining way, just keep in mind, I'm talking about this as from the business side of filmmaking, not from the personal
Right.
side, because I know a lot of people there's a lot of devastating stuff happening to a lot of people. So I don't want to be flippant about that.
Mhm.
But with that said, um, theoretically, I could have been priced out of some of these actors. You know what I mean? Like, it just is what it is. But because of the time and because of the way the economy was at the time, I was able to, lack of a better word, I was able to take advantage of that and provide services that maybe I couldn't provide in any other situation, and
Yeah.
treat people in a way that maybe I couldn't treat them in any other situation.
Right.
So you got to really find it where it's at and be cool with that.
What would you say to a filmmaker today who is looking to get into this business but might say that they don't have all of the equipment?
I'm of the generation where there was a time where you couldn't make a movie unless you had more money than you have. You know what I mean? I
Right.
remember when digital cameras started doing 24 frames per second, and it was like they revolutionized the world. You know what I mean? Like it was like the most exciting thing ever. Like, wait a minute, I can shoot 24 frames per second without having to buy film.
Right.
This is insane. Like I remember that changeover. So I'm of the generation where you don't necessarily you know, you needed a lot of stuff to make a movie. And the truth is the technology has changed. It's changed, things changed, and the technology has changed. Even I'm able to shoot a movie relatively lean nowadays, you know what I mean? And you know, that's not taken away from the value of any of these jobs or
Right.
the nature or need for the equipment, you know, but it is what it is. Times change, things change, and you know, you got to stay up with what's happening. But what you do need to, so the answer is, you got a cell phone, you got a camera. You know what I mean? Like, let's just keep it real. You got a cell phone, you got a camera. If you got an iPhone or something like that, you ready to get up out there. You know, you wasting your time listening to me. You should be filming something right now, right now. You know what I mean? But here's something that a lot of people need to understand, is that there are certain specs, broadcast specs, that are necessary to be on certain platforms, right? So you do have a camera in your pocket, but you have to really understand that even if that film is good, you may not be able to get on certain platforms because you're not up to certain code, sort of some certain specs with your film, you know. So it's not just, it is as easy as turning your camera on and making a film, but when you want to get into a space where you want to make a living at this, you have to take other things into consideration as well.
What would you say, if you were, being that you mentioned specs, what would you say if you didn't have the right equipment, however, you still created your film and you parlayed that into something else by putting it on YouTube, just like what Issa Rae did, and some of these other prominent people in the industry have done, where they basically create a proof of concept, and then they kind of parlay that into working their way into the industry that way.
So here's the thing, man. Like, these young guys, these young YouTube guys, and these guys, you know what I mean? They're figuring out how to skip over things and still stumble into $1 million, right? Like, so when you're talking to somebody like me, I'm a lover of these. Still a lover and a romantic about the traditional movie, right? And the movie experience and what movies are. But movies are getting shorter, they're getting faster, they're getting smaller, and there's ways to make money that's not go to the theater, wait 3 months and go to this, and then wait 3 months and go to that. There's ways to bypass that whole system and still get it in. And can figure that out, then you don't need to worry about if your cell phone, it has the right specs for Netflix, right? You don't need to worry about any of this stuff. So there's really it's the wild, wild west, man. And if you can figure out how to, you know, walk into a room with a lot of money in it, like, then, or maybe that's not what you want to do. Maybe you just want to get your voice out and you want to be heard, and you just, you know what I mean? Like, you're more, you know, your money's not the end all be all to you, and that's fine too. But you know, technology is here, and you know, you can cry about it, or you can use it to help your process become easier or faster or better.
Right. You were recently at the PG Film Festival, which I was there as well. How important is it for creatives such as yourself to give back to the community in this space?
First of all, shout out to the Prince George's Film Festival.
Yes.
And the Prince George's Film Office. Yeah, they were gracious enough to give us a grant to actually make Million to One. So I'm always, and they've always been an ally and continually supportive of what I'm doing and what other artists are doing in this area. And they're a wonderful resource. So if you're in the Prince George's County area, I highly suggest you reach out to them and connect with them, try to create a relationship with them, because they're very generous and gracious people, and it's only going to make your process a little better. With that said, you know, it's important to me because this area has been good to me. You know, the DMV has been good to me. I've met some of the most talented actors you know you're ever going to meet, and I've met them right here in DC. You know, I've got, you know, it's wonderful crew people, craft services people. It's just, this area is very welcoming to filmmakers. So I try to not just give in the sense of generating business in the area, but I try to give my time as well, and whatever knowledge I picked up over the years, I try to return that to the area as well. 'Cause it's even though it's very welcoming and warm, it's a warm and welcoming place to make films. There's still room for growth, right? So if I go away and I learn something that can help the area, I'm more than happy to share it with the area. The short answer is it's important to me to be a part of the filmmaking community in this DMV area.
How important is it that we come together to begin to build our own production houses, studios, writers groups?
I think a lot of us, and I don't mean any particular us, I mean the larger general us, still have this mentality that, Hollywood, and everything else is a step down. And you know what I mean? Like, we still have that. If you got to make it, you got to take, you pack your bags and go to Hollywood and stand in line and hope and wish and pray and meet the right people, whatever. And, I'm a believer that that's not necessarily the answer anymore like it used to be, right? Now, keep in mind that the DMV area is very blessed, right? You can't go to any place in the world and find a level of talent that you can find here that's untapped, right?
Right.
And a lot of people feel like because they don't have that Hollywood stamp, that they're not up to speed. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I go to LA pretty frequently. Them actors ain't all that good out there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Them cameramen ain't all that good out there. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a hub. And of course there's great actors there, but every actor you run into, they ain't that good. You know what I'm saying? So, and I know actors here that'll run circles around actors in LA that are on TV shows. You know what I mean? So it's one of those situations where it's important that we sort of pool our resources. Will we do it? I don't know. I can't speak for anybody else. I'd be happy to work with, I'm happy to work with people who are really about the craft and the art form. You know what I mean? I'm happy to collaborate with that. I just DP somebody's film less than a month ago. I was just the DP on a film that was written and directed by another gentleman from the area.
Okay.
So I'm in talks with another filmmaker in the area about possibly DP in their film, So I'm more than happy to work with the area. I think it'll make everybody's life easier. Will anybody listen to me? I don't know. It's on you, man. I don't know.
No, I love that though, man. I like the fact that you are going beyond just creating your own projects. You're extending your hands out to other people in the area. And then just also to add to your point, as far as LA being a hub and that there's talent in other places. I'm also a firm believer of that there's talent in other places too. And it's due time that these other locations get their just due and get the recognition and the shine that they deserve. But not only that, to also speak on the walk of life here, because everywhere you go, it's a different walk of life. And a lot of times stories are told from just one point of view when there's millions of points of view. And so I like the fact that you said that, because it's not just LA, it's not just New York, it's not now Atlanta. There's plenty of talent here, and we can be a hub just as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we are a hub. It's you really you gotta. I think this area just suffers from not being LA, not being Atlanta. But I'll be honest with you, we're already there. It's just you just gotta. Sometimes you gotta put the suit on and wear it and tell people what you are and what you're not. You know what I mean? That's just the way of the world. Like, if you wait for LA to stamp you, they're not gonna stamp you. Why? Because they're already LA. What do they need to stamp anybody else for? Like, you got to stamp yourself. And I think not everybody understands that. People still want to get on the team instead of, sort of drafting and making your own team and being competitive. Like Kevin Durant, they want to get on the winning team, and
that's that's usually how it goes anyway, but
right.
Sometimes it's better to go to an unknown team or an unknown location or an untapped location and build from there, and you could be the number one person there, or you can begin to build your strong three or whatever the case may be.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So let's plug your films again.
Yes. Right now, 1,000,001, 1,000,001, 1,000,001. Say it with me. 1,000,001 right now on Amazon Prime. Go see that. That one is one definitely one you want to watch with your family, your significant other. It's cool for the kids, the whole deal, man. So you definitely want to do that. I have another film on all black called Once Upon a Time in the District. That is not cool for the kids. So don't bring the kids to that one. But definitely go on all black right now and see it. I got another film called Gaslight that's been doing really well. Also on all black. Go on all black and see that. The Forgettable Life of Liam White, which is, I really think it's a very like art housey film. Real, that one is starring Sean Woolen, Jasmine Guy, T.C. Carson, Karan Joseph Riley, Brave Williams, and a whole host of other talented actors. Go see that. You can go see it on Roku right now. And then I have another film called Iceman Book One that should be coming out at the end of the year. That's a real sort of sophisticated gangster flick. Godfather, those sort of sleek Heat, those sort of slick gangster movies. I'm really proud of that, and I'm really excited for people to see that. And then I'm shooting The Novelist next. Well, I start in a couple of days. Day one is a couple of days, and I'll be making The Novelist, and that should be top of the year-ish kind of thing.
Okay.
So we outside, man. We moving, and life is good right now.
Right, I hear that, man. One last question. For somebody who is aspiring, say that they're a writer, they're not quite a filmmaker or producer. Are you accepting scripts? Does your production studio accept outside content?
That is a sort of tricky answer.
Okay.
Because maybe yes. It depends on the script. It depends on the person. Depends on what you have. And this is what I tell, if you're talking about young writers or inexperienced writers or writers who may be experienced, but none of their work has ever been made. You got to realize what you're asking, not just me to do, what you're asking people like me to do. What you're asking people like me to do is increase the gamble on an already unpredictable business, right? So you got to really understand why you're being told no often. And it may not be that you're not talented enough. It may not be that your script is not good enough. This is a very unpredictable and unstable business. So every time I step out, I'm essentially, when you're a filmmaker, you're a professional gambler, is what you are. Let's keep it real, right? So you can work for someone and have them take the risk and just get your money and run, right?
Right.
Working for Netflix or something like that, which I'm happy to do. I would definitely be open to working for a network or anything like that. So I'm not opposed to that. But when we're talking about productions that my production company is taking on, what you got to realize is that I'm gambling right now. So I'm looking for ways to mitigate that risk and make the risk as small as possible. I'm not looking for ways to increase the risk, right?
Right.
So if I haven't seen anything from you, I'm not in a position as a production company to have 3 failures in a row until and be able to eat that money until that's not the type of production company I have. I'm not a major studio, I'm not Paramount, right?
Right.
So with all that being said, I got to go out there with a strong sense of that this can work and should work and will be able to work, right? So I said all that to say, what you probably want to do as a writer is, I know everybody's got their little baby, the best script that's ever been written, the one, and you wrote it, I got it. If you're not comfortable with making your baby,
Yeah.
then make something that, just make something, get together with your friends, get together. Because the truth is I don't know how your words play on the screen, right?
Right.
I haven't seen how you pace things, or do you take too long in your scenes to get from one scene to another?
Mm.
If you do, which you probably do because you're a young writer, now not only have I increased the risk, but I increased the work, because now I got to go behind you and massage this thing to get it right. So the reason I'm telling you, you probably want to get together with your people, man, and do it for nothing. People need to see your stuff in action.
Mm-hmm.
If you wait on me, you're gonna be waiting a long time. You know what I mean? If you're waiting on anybody, you're gonna be waiting a long time. And then, so the first thing I suggest you do, if your writing is not materialized into an actual project yet, I suggest you get together with some hungry filmmakers, young filmmakers, and make something and let people see how your words play on the screen. If you're, and I'll tell that to a young cinematographer that's trying to get with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care if you got the camera. I don't care if you don't got the camera. I want to know if you can create an image that's moving. And even if it is moving, is it the type of imagery that I want? Just because it's good, it may not be the style that I want. It may be too modern for me. It may be too old for me. It's any number of reasons. You know what I mean? So I need to see it. So if you're a young writer out there and you're getting frustrated that no one's taking you seriously, well, they're not taking you seriously because they haven't seen anything from you. All right. So make something. That's my biggest, that's what you can take away from all that mumbo jumbo I just told you.
No, it's not mumbo jumbo. It's good advice, honestly. Because a lot of times we don't hear that. We only hear, the clean and cut answer. We don't hear the other parts of it that we need to hear. And I feel like you touched on that.
Yeah. And it's when I was on the other end, I used to get those answers you talk about, right?
Right.
And then it make it sound so easy, like the door is open. Just you trust me, it's open. It's not open.
Yeah.
The joint is closed. You got to kick that. You got to kick that joint down. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
everybody's trying to not get eaten.
Right.
So we don't have time, to coax you and baby you and get you there, right? We out here trying to not get eaten ourselves. You know what I mean? So you gotta tell me, you gotta show me that you can help me not get eaten. I don't have time to take a risk on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just the way of the world, man. It's just what it is. And that's not just something I would tell you. That's something that I know these larger companies think about me.
Right.
We don't have time to take a chance on you. You need to position yourself in a way that makes us feel that you can make some money for us. And that's how they talk to me. So if I tell you anything different, then I would be doing you a disservice.
Exactly. You touched on what we need to hear as creatives, because once we get to a point to where we can be in front of somebody who can actually potentially take our script or our film or whatever to the next level, a lot of times we're devastated when we hear that advice, being that we've never heard it before. And we need to hear it. We need to hear it more. And we need to hear it early. So that way we take all the steps, we do all the extra precautions, we do everything that we exhaust everything that we could possibly exhaust before we even get to that point. And it minimizes the rejection, or it minimizes the feeling of failure.
The sting of it. Yeah. And it's helpful to understand that it's not personal,
Right.
Sometimes it may be personal. Sometimes they just don't like your face, man. Like, get up out of here. It may be personal. I don't know. But for the most part, it's not personal. You haven't convinced me that, you're an asset versus a liability.
Mhm.
And how do you do that? Well, there's a myriad of ways to do that, one of which is letting people see that your work can move. Some people are good talkers, man. Some people can sell water to a well, and maybe you use that to your advantage. You know what I mean? So you use what you got to get to the next step. But I'm telling you, if you're coming in and telling me you got a great idea, I don't care. I want to know how you can help me not get eaten.
Right.
Can't.
Yeah.
Then I don't care about your idea. I just don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is there any words of advice that you would like to give to the younger community who are aspiring writers, actors, filmmakers, and they're looking to get into this field? Anything that you could tell them to help continue or further their motivation and their dedication?
I feel like people told me this when I was younger, but I was a little bit, I can be sort of tunnel vision-y. So maybe I didn't listen to it as much as I should. I think I thought that my work would answer all the questions, right? So I do have a strong work ethic, but I thought that would be enough. And the biggest advice that I can tell people is that hard work is not enough, right? It's just not. So what you got to do is not only work hard, but you got to work smart. You got to learn this craft. And I'm not saying you need to go to college or you need to go to film school. I'm not telling you that, but you need to be learning. If you're not learning, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? Like you're just in trouble in this industry, and you gotta if you gotta really take into account that if you're working hard and nothing's happening, well, just working harder is not gonna just gonna dig a deeper hole. You got to start working smarter, right? You got to start, if you're working smart, if you're the best social media person on the planet and you can get 300, 400,000, 1 million followers, but you ain't got nothing to sell them, then what good? Then you got to work harder. You know what I mean? Like, so you got to balance those two areas of the industry. And I felt like earlier in my career, I wasn't balancing. I thought the hard work would get me over the hump. And that's just not the case anymore. It's a combination of a lot of things. It's a combination of getting better. It's a combination of hard work. It's a combination of advertising. One of the quotes that I'm a big fan of right now is I heard Arnold Schwarzenegger say, you want to know how to be successful, it's a two-step process. Work hard, advertise. That's the process to be successful. And I really took that to heart, man. And that's sort of been my mantra recently. Work hard and advertise. 1,000,001. Go see it right. And then go see it right now.
Yes. Harold Jackson III, thank you so much for joining the platform. Thank you for taking the time out to share your knowledge, your wealth of knowledge. We will all be tuning in to 1,000,001. Looking forward to your other film, The Novelist, and everything else that you have going for you from now into the future. Harold Jackson, guys.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me.
Hey, thank you, man.